where we talk about the latest in the world of sports. Today we are privileged to have with us a fine gentleman and the name of Deji Omotoyinbo. We're still waiting for one of our guests to join us. I think he's having technical issues from his that's why he's not been able to join us. Like I said, you're all welcome. Today we're going to be treating the topic what benefits is CAF Super League. So I'm gonna introduce the gentleman once again. He's not a guest to this channel. His name, like I said, is Mr. Deji Omotoyinbo. He's a sport technocrat, a sportcaster, a sports content consultant, media trainer, author, and project director of Sports Impact Africa, and is based in Nigeria, West Africa. So whilst we wait for our other guests, we should go on with this. So the first thing is, can you please enlighten more about CAF's league? What does it mean?
Well, thank you for having me. A lot has been said, a lot has been speculated about the Africa Super League as enunciated by CAF. But you know, I'm probably not the right person to explain what CAF wants to do, because there are still so many gray areas and there are a few questions to be answered. But essentially, what CAF has said through Mosepe, the president of CAF, is that they are launching an Africa Super League with a pot of money on offer, $200 million, I think, 100 million to be shared by 24 participating teams. Each team guaranteed a sum of $2.5 million, and then the overall winner gets, I think, by $10 or $11 million, something like that. And then they are going to have top 24 teams in Africa ranked by, I think, by ranking or coefficient over the last 5 years participating. And that is going to run side by side with the current CAF continental competitions. In a nutshell, that's what CAF has said, and that it will run from August next year, I think, August 2023. So that in a nutshell is what CAF has said. And the CAF are very, very positive about the impact of what they feel the kind of impact it will have on African football. The funding, they feel the teams will have more money to develop themselves, improve player quality, and a whole lot of things, that the funding is good for African football. Also, I think each of the 54 member CAF organizations are going to get $1 million each as part of the entire deal. But that's what CAF has said. But there are lots of questions, and a lot of people, including myself, are really not convinced about the impact, the positive impact, and the sustainability of this event vis-a-vis the current CAF competitions. But some of us are prepared to give CAF the benefit of the doubt. Let's see how it plays out. But a whole lot of questions are still unanswered at the moment.
Okay, thanks for that. Because, like you rightly said, lots of people are in doubt, you know, and they've been so unsure of what is, you know, which leads to my second question. As a sports technocrat, do you see the league, you know, that was being shut down within 72 hours of it being introduced in Europe, especially for England, because I'm based here, that all the stakeholders here, all the clubs, even the fans, they shut down the launch of Super League in Europe. So do you see that working on the African continent?
I must tell you that on I run a podcast. We have taken a break now. We'll resume soon. And on the podcast last year, I was very scathing in my criticism of the Africa Super League. But like I said, it's always two sides of a coin. I'm ready to give them benefit of the doubt. But like you rightly mentioned, a Super League was shut down practically by all and sundry in Europe, including FIFA, including Gianni Infantino. Why Gianni Infantino is the one that is championing the similar thing in Africa, I honestly don't understand. And well, I think Gary has joined us, so you can welcome Gary now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Thanks for joining us.
Apologies for my technical issues.
You're welcome. We understand it happens. So,
okay.
Once again.
Welcome, Gary.
Thank you.
Okay. So, like as I was saying, I personally feel that Infantino's presence on African football is overbearing. He is around at every CAF event. He is there at every CAF annual general meeting. I honestly don't see him doing the same in other continents. I think he's overbearing and I think he's condescending. But hey, CAF allows it and he does it. So, like I said, I am not particularly in support of the CAF Super League. I think it's going to have a negative effect on the existing CAF competitions, the CAF Champions League and the CAF Confederations Cup. And because those competitions are struggling as it is. And then the big question, the big elephant in the room is, where is the money coming from? CAF finances over the past couple of years, the last audited finance showed a $40 million loss. And those questions have not been answered. So, but like I said, the benefit of the doubt, let's wait and see, but those questions will not go away.
Wow. I'm still, coming to the issue you raised, which was where is even FIFA, where are they going to get that funding from? Let me introduce Gary to our audience. Gary is the founder of Sports News in Africa. He's the general manager for sports department in South African Broadcasting Corporation, and he has previously resided here in the UK, Kenya, Nigeria. Now he lives in South Africa. He has a broad knowledge of sport and broadcasting. So we are so privileged to have him with us today. So you are welcome once again.
Thank you. I'm really struggling to hear you, basically, unfortunately. So I couldn't pick up everything that you were saying. I'm really struggling to do on my phone. I'm not used to doing things on my phone like this. I'm used to using my computer. So I don't know how to actually improve the volume. But so could you just give me the essence of the question again, please?
Yes, I will. I was just asking Deji Omotoyinbo, Mr. Deji Omotoyinbo, that as a sports technocrat, do you see do you see anything wrong with the fact that the Super League was being shut down here in Europe, especially here in England, 72 hours after it was being launched? So what is your view on that? Do you see it working on the African continent?
I mean, I didn't get everything, but I think just a bit of looking at it, like I think you're kind of considering it in terms of when the Super League was started in Europe, in the way that the response was, very, very negative straight away, and the way the fans kind of reacted to it. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know, and there was a sense that it was a selling out of the soul of the game. You know, that you know that it would just really create a sense that the top clubs would then suddenly have more. You know, what I mean? They would have everything, and it would just be a matter of, you know, chasing money by just having all the popular clubs that people want to see playing all over and over again, at the detriment to the larger picture of the game. And one thinks about this, you know, in terms of in the past when we had in European football, certainly, when a lot of different clubs would win the Champions League and things like that. And over the last few years, there's been a very, very small number of clubs that actually, you know, get to do that. And certainly that's not a situation we want to see happening in the African continent, because that's not going to help grow the game in the continent. If it's going to be the same clubs winning all the time and the same teams playing, and we're not going to get a wider range of exposure to clubs across the continent. I mean, I remember for me, you know, when I was much younger, my initial engagement with football in Africa, it was like, you know, it was a way of almost like as South Africans, you know, understanding the continent and finding clubs and teams and things in all these other countries, you know, and Motema Pembe and you guys in DRC and Goma here in Kenya and Simba in Tanzania and things like that. So these are clubs, shooting stars, I think, in Nigeria were actually used to be one of the top teams. The Ghanaian sides that were in there as well. You don't see anymore these days already. It's become like that. You know, I mean, when is the last time we saw not even just the Santa Katoka, but parts of Oak and teams like that were at stake when they were doing like they were like one of the top clubs in Africa. And Yimba haven't been anywhere near the Champions League. This money were in Yimba's big challenges for a while. It was between those two clubs, you know, facing the Champions League title. And that was great, you know what I mean? To get those different varieties of clubs. And we don't want to get into a situation where it becomes a smaller and smaller circle of teams making more and more money for themselves. And we've got to be careful. I think I understand why there is a positive to this, because you say, well, we need to kind of carve money into the game to grow it. But I think, again, if you're talking, I heard you talking about the word technocrats earlier on in your question, and what's the one word I picked up? You know what I mean? This is the problem with when you let the technocrats kind of take control in a way where people make decisions looking at the bottom, only at the bottom line. It's important to get money into the game. There must be other ways to do it without sacrificing the soul of the game. And particularly when it comes to internet, you know, football, like the Champions League, and these kinds of tournaments, when they were first started in the early days, the idea was it was about bringing countries together. It was about linking countries. It was about linking countries. It was about, you know, unification. It was part of the European, the Euro dream. And here it was part of the kind of idea of an African identity, a united continental sort of ideal. And it should still be about that. And if it becomes about fewer and fewer clubs making more and more money, we start sacrificing that idea. And the other teams in smaller countries that can produce good players and do interesting things, suddenly they're not there anymore. Suddenly they don't matter anymore. And there's no new fans coming to them. And it's not just about the football. It's about those identities in those countries and seeing those identities as part of the large African family, the larger African identity. That's what, to me, what, you know, European Cup for Europe and what African Champions League and things like that is for our country as well. And we can't lose that.
Wow, thanks. That's a very, lengthy and very extensive feedback you just gave us now, and thank you for that. I don't know, for some reason, I don't know why we have noise interference. Is it the television, or is it the radio or something is interfering with the internet? Can you turn maybe the TV or something like that? Can you turn it
But
down?
I can't hear a thing.
Can you hear me? Can you hear? Can you hear me?
No, I still can't. Hello?
Hello, we can hear you, but you know it's breaking, but we can hear you. Can you hear us?
No.
I don't think you can.
So I'm sorry. I really am struggling to hear. I can't hear a thing. And I think there's some machine that's making a hell of a noise outside my place.
Oh, okay.
I must apologize. I'm going to put my mic on silent for a moment.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
So we need to go on, please. Because yes, I haven't mentioned earlier where you stated that you don't know where the CAF is gonna get that substantial amount of funding from. So it brings me to my next question, which is despite the fact that the CAF president Patrick Motsepe is unclear, and he boldly stated that the competition will generate up to $3 billion US dollars. Do you see that happening?
You know, I don't like to preempt people. That's why I said I'll give it benefit of the doubt. But you have to show projections. You have to show where the money is coming from. As we speak, we haven't heard of any sponsors that have identified with this competition. As we speak, you have to make it clear where the funding is coming from. And you know, for me, let's even assume that you have the money. Is it to the betterment of football across Africa when some clubs, like Gary said, continue to make the money? A specific number of clubs continue to make the money. They are the rich clubs already. You are just widening the gap between the rich clubs and the poorer clubs, because it's the same set of clubs that will keep playing this competition. It's the TP Mazembes, it's the Al Ahly's, it's the top North African teams, it's probably the Mamelodi Sundowns. It's the same set of teams. Now, that's on one side. On the other side, what's the impact on the CAF Champions League or the CAF Confederations? Will clubs be interested in playing this competition when there is a much juicier competition where they can make all the money? Are you not, in effect, killing some of your prized properties by introducing this competition? Because I still don't understand how that works out, because they said it's going to run side by side with the CAF Champions League. Which clubs are going to play? Which top club is going to play want to play the CAF Champions League when the Super League is there with all the riches? You know, so it's like walking against each other. And then, you know, we can't avoid the elephant in the room. CAF has major financial issues. From the last, the audited accounts, to the Lagardère TV deal that collapsed, that would have generated a lot of money, steady income. So you can't just come and tell people, we're going to do this, we're going to do that this morning. People are bound to ask questions, where is the money going to come from? And this money you say you're generating, where are the figures? The figures don't add up right now, and people can't see it. But like I said, even let's assume that the money is there, and the sponsor comes and says, I'm going to pick up the tab. What impact does this have on development of your other club side football? What impact does it have on other club sides? Aren't you just going to a situation where the rich clubs keep getting richer and the poor clubs keep getting poorer? And you know, it's unfortunate, but we have to say it. Even if you give all the 54 countries $1 million each, like they are saying, where is the trickle-down effect? Unfortunately, most of the time, these organizations get money. We don't see the impact at the lower rungs of the footballing ladder. So it's a whole lot of questions to be answered, a whole lot of doubts, and you cannot blame people for having these doubts. But like I said, I'm ready to cross my legs, fold my arms, and wait and see what CAF wants to do. But I have a lot of misgivings about this tournament, And even if the money is there, I think it's going to have a negative impact on the greater, it's not for the greater good of the game. Like we used to say about football, it's not for the greater good. Some clubs, and I honestly don't know why, but I think it's a flight of fancy. CAF just wants to feel they want to do this. I would rather the money is spent in developing a lot of aspects of African football than throwing around a few clubs who are already mostly rich clubs, making so much more money, and it doesn't have a trickle-down effect on the rest of football on the continent, particularly, like I said, which club is going to want to play the CAF Champions League when the juicier Super League is right there? You know, you are undermining your own tournaments. And I honestly don't understand that.
Gary, thanks for coming back to us.
Yeah, sorry, I can hear you now. It's good. All good.
So the question was, where is the CAF president, Motsepe? After having said that the competition, the Super League is going to generate up to $3 billion US. Do you see that happening? And where is CAF going to, FIFA or CAF, where are they going to get that substantial amount of money from?
Well, yes, exactly. I mean, it always sounds good. People say, you know, we can make this much money and it's going to be good. But the reality of it is that how are they going to do that? You know, because at the moment, you've already got the top clubs playing in the Champions League, in the CAF Champions League. You've already got all the sponsorships and things like that you can get. Where's the extra? They're going to suddenly another $3 billion. As has been said already, what's going to happen to the CAF Champions League? You can't split that over two things. You're taking the existing pool of cash and sponsors and spreading them over two competitions. You're not actually making more money. You're just taking the same money and thinning it out, as it were. So I'm a bit dubious about how that will work. I think it will mean that one competition is going to be sacrificed. How it will turn into $3 billion as well, I'm not sure. And I think that, as has been pointed out as well, I think a lot of this is about making a statement and trying to show that CAF is being serious about doing something and building the game and taking it further. But I think it's looking in the wrong direction. We need to look at working with what we have and making it better, looking at the sponsors that are out there and how to offer them more value within the offering that we have, instead of just, you know, trying to create something new adjacent to an existing offering. It doesn't make sense and it doesn't add up. And I'm not too sure how the CAF president kind of comes into this in this way. I don't even know if it's really his initiative or whether he's just, you know, as the figurehead. I think he's got his own businesses and his own things to worry about. I'm not convinced that he sat down and said, well, what CAF needs is this Super League and this is going to make a difference. I'm not convinced that it's something that he's actually driving at all and that there are other people behind this that are pushing this agenda forward.
You know, Gary, before you came on, I said something along the lines of what you just said. I said, I'm a bit worried about the overbearing presence of Gianni Infantino anytime we have anytime on African football. He's always here at the annual general meetings. He's always here, and I honestly I'm uncomfortable with that. You know, he's the FIFA president. He oversees football on 5 or 6 continents in the world. Why is he always here?
Yeah,
you know, I don't get that. And if you shut down the Super League in Europe, where the football structure, the football pyramid is very, very well run and solid, why is it here that it's being introduced? Because I personally, I don't have proof, but I personally believe it's Infantino's idea. And he's the one pushing the agenda. And Motsepe, for some reason, is taking it hook, line, and sinker. And it's like you want to use African football to have an experiment. It's like a guinea pig kind of situation. And I don't think it's right. Because our football needs a whole lot of money for development from the bottom up, not from the top down. Because what you're doing is throwing money at the top of the ladder and hoping it trickles down. And you and I know it's not likely to trickle down to the base. That's what we need. We don't need this flight of some fancy competition. And I honestly don't get it. But I feel that, taking a cue from what you said, this is Infantino's idea, and I honestly don't understand why he is so overbearing when it comes to African football.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we see the fact is that CAF, FIFA is very, very engaged with CAF. You know what I mean? A lot of what's happening in FIFA at the moment, in CAF at the moment, is controlled by FIFA. FIFA are literally standing behind everything that CAF is doing. And, I think that this is exactly what this is. And again, as you said, rightly pointed out, is that, I don't see how putting this concept, which they're transplanting from somewhere else and thinking it'll work here, when we already have the top clubs playing each other anyway in the Champions League. The Champions League does that as it is. What we need rather to do is focus on how do we create a more dynamic way of driving revenues into the game without actually doing something like this, because this is not really doing anything different. This is not something that's going to make. I'm still don't understand how suddenly people who don't want to pay, for sponsors don't want to put money into watching Al Ahly versus Mamelodi Sundowns in the Champions League are suddenly going to say, well, we'll put money into it to watch them playing in the Super League. It's the same teams. It'll be much the same in every kind of way. The only difference is that it'll be those teams will play more and more. But I don't think that adds value as far as audience is concerned. And I think that, it's one of those things is that we need to find a better way to try to drive revenues into the properties that we have. Make more money out of it, find ways to monetize it better. And there are other ways. There's ways that we need to look at in terms of the way that the content is distributed, the way that we can look at the way it can be monetized in the digital spaces and things like that, the way that things should be done around merchandising, the way that we can try and do, to get more people involved in the events. The problem is we've had 2 years or so with COVID. That's a lot. So that means the events themselves have had a lot of, it's been a big setback with that. But, that's coming back. That's changing. These opportunities are all there now to find other ways of actually driving revenue around the properties that we have, rather than trying to say, well, let's just create a new property and expect people to come and put more money into what is essentially the same thing with a different name and with less of an impact around the entire continent, because it'll only just really just become something that actually has value in 4 or 5 countries out of 54. That's not really an African Champions League anymore.
No, it's not. I think I agree with the two of you totally, because I haven't said that. Do we now say the CAF president, is he just treating it as a business as usual, knowing fully well that he has he's a businessman? Is he looking at this all those factors that you've been able to raise? Is he looking at them critically? Is he just like, okay, yeah, it's business as usual? So, with people like yourself, that are technocrats, that are stakeholders, raising all this, do we want to say he has not all these issues that you are raising, which are very, cogent points? Is it that he has not heard about all those things before? How can when he said the 3 billion, I was not like, wait a minute, where is he going to get this money from? And I live not too far from United ground, and I know how the fans, how they came out to come and protest en masse against the Super League. That no. So just looking at all those things, I just wonder. That's why I raised this question: that what benefit is this CAF Super League going to be to Africa? But I'm very happy that you both of you are able to raise all those points. So, which brings me to my next question. Will this Super League how is it going to benefit the grassroots football?
I said it already. I said it already. I don't see any benefit to the bottom of the ladder. I don't see any. Because it's like, it's like dangling carrot, and telling all 54 companies they're going to get $1 million. A lot of African countries get something for people. Not many and show you what they do with the money. That's the truth. All keep piling on bills. I read something that said something that the government has risen. The income has dropped. And they are having rising costs. They are not generating income. I think the first thing CAF should have done was to sort out his finances. The Lagardère deal broke down and it has not been replaced. That's a huge chunk of the money that comes into CAF that is in abeyance. The last audited account showed $40 million loss. Those are the issues that need to be addressed immediately to the satisfaction of all stakeholders. And if you're going to do this competition, it has to be more clear-cut. Right now, it's too haphazard. You have to come clean. This is where the money is going to come from. This is how I am going to generate this money that is going to come in. These are the projections. These are the sponsors that have lined up. The sponsors come out against the world and say, yes, we are backing this. You don't just throw things in the air and expect everybody to take a book line and finger and hey, let's go about it. And this is how we're going to ameliorate the impact on our other competitions. Because even the crown of the jewel, the African Nations Cup, has issues. And these things need to be addressed. CAF are struggling to get hosts for the African Nations Cup. What are we doing about infrastructure of African football? What are we doing about development? What are we doing about so many other things? Not create with all due respect, most of the clubs that will take part in this competition are already well-established clubs. They are well run. The North African team, the South African team, the Simbas and the Goma here. Those ones are well run, they are running well. What's happening at the bottom of the ladder? So why do you want to compete to enrich those ones? Why are you not bothered about the bottom of the ladder? It doesn't make any sense to me, with all due respect. I'm not talking about humility. I say it doesn't make any sense to me.
Gary, what's your
I agree as well. Basically, I think that I don't see how there's you're talking about how it's going to benefit at the down to the bottom of the level. I don't see. There's really been a lot of money in the game, and again, my issue is that this idea that there's going to be more money into this league that than there's been in the Champions League. I don't understand how that actually works, because it's basically the same thing anyway, just without the broader interest of the other countries. So with less of interest from the other countries, that means there's less grassroots or there's less wider support for the game on the continent. And I think it'll be detrimental to the growth of the football at a wider level, at the lower levels, because now what it'll do is it means that everyone's going to just become fans of like a few teams rather than fans of hundreds of teams, And if you think about it, if you look at the way European football has gone anyway, as it is that you've got a lot of fans of the 5 or 6 big teams, all have huge supporters, and not just from their own countries or their own thing, but globally speaking. But there's not big fans of the smaller teams who never get a chance to get anywhere, and there's less and less of those teams. A team like, in fact, a good example in the sense, if you look at a team like Ajax Amsterdam, that for years ago used to be regulars in the Champions League at the top end. They won the Champions League a few times as well. And there were a lot of people identified with them as liked the club a lot and everything like that. And I can guarantee you that their growth or their fan base globally has diminished over the years because they can't afford to kind of compete at that level, and they're cut out. So unless there's a strategy to address that in some kind of way, you're not growing the fan base either, basically. And if you're not growing the fan base, you're not actually, you know what I mean? You're undermining the future of the game. And if you're undermining the future of the game, you're not doing anything to actually help create a grassroots development. So, I just don't understand how, to me still, is that the answer should be surely to try and do things better around what we have rather than trying to create something almost the same but slightly different that will promisely bring more money and then expect it to trickle down to the grassroots and development structures. We've heard it before, and we've seen very little evidence of that actually happening in the end. So yeah, I'd like to see the plan on that one, because maybe there is a plan, and I'm just saying what I think, because looking at the past record, maybe there's new people with new ideas and we need to see that plan. And I think it's a good question, because if whatever they do does not address that issue and address it effectively and show us that it can address it effectively, then it's just that it makes the exercise even more pointless, because if you're not actually building at grassroots level, if you're not actually building from the bottom up, then you're building a top-heavy structure that's going to collapse in the long run.
To add to that, yes, when the European Football League was shut down, one of the major reasons living in England, the one was shut down was because it was going to be detrimental to the bottom of the pyramid. Those are the community clubs, the small town clubs. Because at the end of the day, all these big clubs at the top of the ladder, they don't develop all their players. They have scouting network, and players are developed across the board. And that's where players come from. In Africa, we have a situation where we have a lot of talent being generated at the bottom of the ladder. These are the ones that feed the clubs at the middle and at the top of the ladder. And if you do not pay attention to these clubs, it will get to a point where the talent pool that is at the bottom, that all the clubs feed from, if you allow that to dry up, is a problem. Ultimately, it affects the quality of your team on the long term. And you find out that you are left scratching the bottom of the barrel. I honestly, like Gary said, I'll wait, let's see a plan. Maybe there's something we are not seeing. So that we are not, maybe there's something they're not seeing. Maybe when they break it down, maybe there's a larger picture they have not seen it. But from what has been said, from what we know, with our own experience, from what has been deduced, we can't see where the benefits are. So maybe CAF needs to come out and convince us and tell us exactly what is the plan. How does it affect all levels of the pyramid, from the bottom to the top? What are the advantages? Maybe they have a plan, they come out, so like I said at the top, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's see how this plays out. But from where I'm sitting, I honestly don't see a plan, and I honestly don't see the impact positively on African football on the short or the long term.
Thank you for that response. I want to thank the two of you, and I think the two of you just touched on the next question when you said where's the trickle-down effect, because like you rightly said, some of the people that protested here were like, one, will it benefit the community, the immediate community, that once the money start coming in, they won't be able to afford the tickets, which leads to my next question, that it's just going to be the big clubs money coming in without them being able to even afford to watch the games, the football which they are passionate about. So it's about passion. It's one of the few reasons why it was rejected here, that it won't be for the people again, that you just be for the elites, that you'll just be making money. So the question now is, with the current situation, especially on the African continent, that people are living below $1, $1, will, having introduced this league, will people, ordinary people, be able to afford a ticket to watch games like this? So, Gary, I want you to please take that question, please.
I think that's a very, very good question again, basically. And I think that's exactly the problem that we found there. I think this is where we talk about the 3 billion. A large part of it's going to become because the cost of tickets are going to be expensive. And that only the people that can really pay that kind of money will go. And they'll pay because you say, well, rich people, you know what I mean, the guys that are just the kind of, I could call them like football tourists, as it were, they'll be able to afford. And they want to see Al Ahly playing Raja Casablanca and Mamelodi Sundowns and whatever the case may be, and a couple of big teams, and they're happy to go and watch that every year. But so those tickets will be the tickets to get in this game on, because those people can afford to pay for those tickets, so they can put the prices up. And I suspect that this is a large part of where they will get their $3 billion from, basically, because so you're absolutely right. What's going to happen is that, as far as ordinary people are concerned, particularly in countries, you know, where the situation is much more marginal, but where the support, I mean, there's countries where it's like a Burundi, in Ethiopia, or in Tanzania, places like that, where you go to stadiums and regardless, you know, are packed to the rafters with fans, enthusiasts, love the game and get behind it. Those kinds of people, those kinds of audiences, those fans, there's nothing that they will be able to have a connection with this tournament in any kind of way. They won't see their teams. They won't have access to these games in any kind of way. They won't be played in their countries because their teams won't be featuring in them. It'll be something, you know, they may as well just watch the European Champions League, basically, because it'll be on TV as well. And you know what I mean? And they already know about Real Madrid and Barcelona and all the things like that. So, you know what I mean? There's, you know what I mean? So they're not going to be. It's going to lose that excitement, that continent-wide excitement that the league has always had. The Champions Cup and the original format, and absolutely, they are not going to be able to afford to get to these games. These games aren't going to be played in their countries. There's going to be 3 or 4 countries that these games will be played at, because it's not like Europe and Africa. You know, if you're living in London and there's a final or there's a big game playing in Paris or in Madrid or whatever like that, it's quite easy to get there. Or if you live in Frankfurt and there's a game playing in London or whatever like that, it's easy to get there. It's not the same in Africa, basically. We can't. I mean, if I'm a football fan, I think, wow, Zamalek and Al Ahly are playing in a game. It's a brilliant game. For me to go to Egypt to watch that game, it's a whole. I've got to make a holiday out of it, basically. I can't just go over for the evening. So the best thing we've got is that with the Champions League as it is, it means that we get the Champions League playing everywhere around the continent. So all the teams on the continent, a lot of teams get to be part of it. So wherever you are in many different countries, you can get a chance to experience the Champions League when your team plays in that Champions League at some point in the process. And you have that access. Now you're going to cut those teams out. There's going to be fewer teams. It means less and less people being able to access it. And those that want to access it have to pay a premium, which 90% of the continent can afford. Where does it leave? What does it say for fans of football, of African football in this country, in this continent? And it's going to be, you know what I mean? I don't see how that's going to work either.
All right, I'll probably have to leave you after this response, because I have a recording at 5. I need to leave just to the studio at 45. All right. To expand on that, we have a list of 24 things that we hear will be taking part in this competition. 24 things, that list is to be believed, from 7 countries. at best, if you stretch it out, we will have teams from 10 countries. There are 54 countries in Africa. So teams from 44 countries are not interested. They are not interested because in Africa, we don't have those border football supportership. You hardly have a Ghanaian supporting the Nigerian team. You hardly have a South African supporting a Congolese team. Our support for our football team is local and probably national with our national team. In Europe, you can have somebody who lives in Yugoslavia, in Germany supporting the team in England. It doesn't happen here in Africa. So when you receive this competition to teams from 7 to 10 teams, you're only telling the rest of Africa, we are not involving you. And they themselves will not be interested anyway. So where does that lead us? Where does that leave us? I honestly think it's not well thought out and it has to be important. But if you want to go ahead with it, like I said, benefit of the doubt, let's see how it plays out.
I need to, because of time.
Permission to leave you now?
No, because of time, we have to call this, to put it to an end, this session to sleep. I want to thank you both for your presence. We appreciate you. We appreciate your contribution, and we hope to see you once again when you are being called upon. Gary, thank you very much. I'm sure Deji has somewhere he's rushing to. That's why he had to leave us. And I'm sure that next time, I'm sure the signal will be better than this. And to all our viewers, I want to thank you for being here with us, for joining us on this session. Until next time, and before I call it a day, if you've not joined us on First Influencers channel, I'll urge you to please. Until next time, Gary, thank you very much. And we hope
my pleasure.
to see you again. Thank you.
My pleasure. Goodbye. And apologies for my technical problems at the beginning. I'm glad I could make it.
We understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye.